In this WrestleTalk news, Kenny Omega shoots on Jim Cornette, why an AEW Star Left, Shotzi Blackheart deletes her social media, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
I've always wondered what WWE's exact creative process is for when they're coming up with new merchandise designs. Do they just have a whole department to generate ideas completely removed from the wrestlers' input? Or is it something the wrestlers pitch to the merchandise team and they go back and forth on it? According to Kevin Owens, when addressing questions of his new t-shirt design, I'm pretty sure they just make it up on the spot. For those asking why there's a panda on my new shirt on WWE Shop, allow me to explain. Here's what happened. Joe, what do you want on your next shirt? Me. I don't know. A panda? Joe. A panda? Why? Me. Because pandas rule. Joe. Okay. Which begs the question, what the hell did the APA pitch? Kevin Owens, despite his rough exterior, is actually a keen zoo enthusiast and lover of animals. It marks a welcome, long overdue return to WWE for pandas, which have had significant backstage heat on them since 2002, when a bunch of them successfully campaigned to get the WWF to change their name. These days, though, wrestling has a far bigger scourge than pandas. Jim Cornette. Both so cuddly though. AEW has a weirdly tense relationship with Cornette, the kind where they mostly just say nasty things at each other, but at any moment, they could start kissing. The crux appears to be a difference in wrestling philosophy. AEW have embraced a very modern style of wrestling that arguably overdoes spectacular spots and enjoys tongue-in-cheek, all but none of this is really real insider references. This mostly offends Cornette's old-school belief in how wrestling should be performed. But the argument against that belief is that that style of wrestling might not work today, as the kayfabe and Canadian destroyers on the ring apron genies are out of the bottle. On a Twitch stream with CEO Gaming, the currently out-injured but still very much co-executive vice president of AEW, Kenny Omega, took aim at Cornette and his fans.
I think Jim Cornette's backed himself up into a corner where now he's found this group of extremely pathetic human beings who have no other thing to aspire to become, or no one to base their life off of, no one to listen to, no one to adhere to their commands. And so when it became a character that he could still play as though he were still traveling up and down the strip in the indies like back in the old days, now he's got this group of people hanging off his every word, and all he has to do is sit and talk on a podcast with some other guy.
Kenny's accusation here is that Cornette doesn't actually believe what he's saying anymore. He's just saying these things to appeal to his audience, and in Cornette's colourful wrestling commentator way, can often come across as personal attacks.
When he realized that he could make money by delivering hateful speech, he backed himself into a corner, and now if he wants to make rent, if he wants to buy his fancy McDonald's double cheeseburger meal, he has to talk about things that are going to get attention, and a lot of the times that's going to be yours truly.
Interestingly, Kenny then expands on how this isn't just a public spat or just affecting him personally. Cornette's consistent criticism of AEW's product has penetrated their backstage atmosphere.
That seeps into our locker room too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it does. Everyone is so afraid of the f***ing cult of Cornette Army, and people that have anti-AEW sites that they want to do whatever the they can to stay safe.
The thing is, that might not be as AEW-wide as Kenny feels. Sure, wrestlers like Omega, the Bucks, and Orange Cassidy are frequently heavily targeted by Cornette on his podcasts. But you look at some other people on the roster and you're like, well, they're probably actually really big fans of Cornette. They listen all the time, they're a subscriber. FTR, a modern tag team that encapsulates how well Cornette's old school approach can work in modern wrestling, appeared on his podcast following their WWE release 2 years ago. They later admitted that other AEW wrestlers were so mad at us for having appeared on the show. And at the same time, Omega is saying how everyone in AEW is afraid of Cornette and his followers. Max Caster has released a version of his acclaimed theme song with Jim Cornette's voice reading one of his raps over the top.
We back in the zone. All y'all gonna choke like Patrick Mahomes.
Spit those bars, Jim. Although that could totally be cast a mocking Cornette, as opposed to condoning him. Kenny, meanwhile, saw his name was trending on Twitter following his fun Twitch stream and posted, "I trend here often, but it's usually during a wrestling event. When I'd heard people were talking about my Twitch stream, I was excited. I'd thought of my 6 Street Fighter V play was getting some love." No. What do you think about the AEW and Cornette clashes? Let me know in the comments. 2022 is proving to be AEW's difficult third album. After 2 years of barely doing anything wrong, giving us all-time great matches and storylines, with top wrestling talent actively choosing to sign with them over WWE, and all that during a pandemic, the promotion has experienced a run of departures and controversies. Most notably, founding member and co-executive vice president Cody Rhodes leaving for WWE, and MJF's backstage contract clash, which has left him off TV for a month now. But leaving before it was cool was Awesome Kong. Yeah, remember that when Awesome Kong was in AEW? Don't worry if not, I've mostly blocked out the Nightmare Collective too. But despite being on the company's first ever pay-per-view, being a surprise addition to Double or Nothing 2019's women's three-way match, and a part of the short-lived Nightmare Collective faction later that year, she was written off TV completely after they disbanded in early 2020, never to be seen again. She was active behind the scenes though, taking on a backstage role for a year and a half. Now speaking to Chris Van Vliet, Kong has revealed she felt sidelined and unheard while there. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the crew over there at AEW, especially since we were just up and running. We were trying to give you something that you haven't seen. I felt unheard. I wasn't in control. I couldn't get in the room where final decisions were made. Believe me, I stalked that room. I would stay there after big meetings and pick up the water bottles and cups like, you need me to go? Okay. I tried to get into that last meeting where decisions were made. Kong explains that she realized who the company was comfortable with making decisions, and it wasn't her. If it was, she said she would have pushed the idea of her 15 minutes of fame, a showcase spot for the women to go and steal the show from the boys. After a time of that not happening, in June last year, she made the decision to leave. One of the most legitimate criticisms against AEW is the disparity between the booking of their men's division and the booking of their women's division. It sounds like Kong wanted to change this behind the scenes, but the interest from AEW just wasn't there. But while emotions are difficult and scary, I don't understand them. AEW sure does have some numbers to celebrate. Wrestling Observer Radio has revealed the Forbidden Door Go Home episode of Dynamite that aired on the 24th of June in the UK has set AEW's all-time record on ITV4. This caps a 6-week growth period since Double or Nothing in this country, and Rampage has finally seen its viewership jump up, with last Friday's episode drawing the highest amount of viewers since April with 486,000. Just a day after telling her critics to suck her big giant hairy mangoes, Shotzi Blackheart has deleted her Twitter account. This comes after her appearance in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match on Saturday, where she botched multiple moves. Online accounts began to drag her on Twitter because of that, which seemingly led Shotzi to post, "I'm not a wrestle robot, I'm human and slips happen, especially in a chaotic, unpredictable ladder match. I can take a joke and laugh at myself. One of the first things I said was, I can't wait to see that spot on Botchamania, but comments like, you should be fired and other terrible things admittedly hit hard. I had to have a few friends wipe the tears off my face and slap some sense into me and remind me who the F I am. That being said, all my haters can suck my big giant hairy mangoes." Shotzi then deleted her Twitter account, prompting concerns over her mental health, which she addressed in an Instagram story. "I appreciate everyone checking on me, but I swear I'm fine. I've been going through the toughest year of my personal life, so it's deeper than nasty comments, but also Twitter has not helped with my already fragile state of mind. Just trying to stay motivated and positive. I'm focused on my goals and not what's on the internet." I know you, dear viewer, aren't the ones criticizing Shotzi or hounding AEW and Cornette. You're one of the good ones. You're watching WrestleTalk. So here's some homework. Give a wrestler an honest public compliment. I'll start by tweeting someone who hates compliments. Wrestling Love tweet. "Nothing makes me feel the way Eddie Kingston does when he performs. Not movies, not comic books, not Stranger Things, not Batman. In the space of 2 years, he has become my favorite active wrestler. I'm incredibly grateful for that." Now you go post one too. Also, total aside, we have a Kickstarter running right now for our board game channel, No Rolls Barred. Here's Adam Blompier to tell you more.
Hello, I'm Adam from No Rolls Barred. We have just launched No Rolls Barred's very first Kickstarter. What are we kickstarting? A limited series of in-person Blood on the Clock Tower games. Back in May, we released an in-person Clock Tower session. We went kind of crazy with it. But we want to make more! And that's why we need Kickstarter. The complete goals that we have are, if we hit $75,000, we'll make 2 episodes. If we hit $105,000, we'll make 4 episodes. If we hit $130,000, we'll make 6 episodes. Now the campaign will run throughout all of July, terminating on July 30th. We've made it so there's basically one main tier with the lion's share of all the bonuses. It costs $40 and we basically want everyone to just pick that one and have put most of the bonuses there so that most people get them. So head on over to the Kickstarter page, check out what we've got planned, check out some of the rewards, and if you're able, we'd love you to back the series. We would love to make it. I genuinely think the pilot was the best thing we've ever done on the channel. And last thing, get on board.
In this WrestleTalk news, the real reason Liv Morgan won the SmackDown Women's Championship at Money in the Bank, Tony Khan opened for an AEW x WWE crossover show, Luke's review of Raw, and more.